to Reynolds Plantation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but that's one of the most well-known, wealthiest resorts for different people of the upper echelon here in Georgia and all over.
Okay.
And what happened is that when you take a Native American who they see as black, come in the middle of their backyard and establish 476 acres, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you see pyramids, you see obelisks, you see totem poles, you see sphinxes, you see different things of culture that's being erected, and it didn't go through their quote-unquote approval of, is this okay for us to build on our land, the things that we want to build. They had a problem with that because they knew before they get to this huge resort, which also ties in Mercer Reynolds and Sheriff Seals, as well as some other individuals who were in influential political positions in Georgia, they would have to pass on 142 right by our Native American village. And that was going to create a problem for them.
Right. Attorney Adrian Patrick, you was mentioning about the post-trial procedure.
Right.
Give us some insight on that, because I'm kind of particularly, interested in that post-trial.
Okay. First of all, when a lot of times I refer to an appeal, but when I say appeal, I mean any post-trial proceeding. In a federal case, after there is a conviction, there's a period of time before sentencing. In other words, the person convicted does not immediately become sentenced. All right?
Okay.
And thus, the actual, per se, written brief for an appeal is not filed till after the sentencing. Okay. But I want to address the interim time between the conviction and the sentencing.
Sentencing, right.
Right. And what has currently been filed is a motion for new trial based upon insufficient, we just stated that the evidence was...
I've seen anguish amongst them. I've talked to several of them during the case. I'd like to say that some went into hiding because of fear. I believe it was from the government using scare tactics on them. Also, I'd like to say that I'm aware that my daughter was flown between between New York and Atlanta several times. I'm certain that the government funded these particular trips back and forth. I'd like to also say that some of the conspirators had personal issues with Malachi. Some of them just wanted money. I also know his son Jake pretty well. He was not present at the cookout, but I will say that he did have issues with his father. I'm very certain of that. I've talked to him since he was like 14. At one point, him and my daughter Sakina were boyfriend and girlfriend, just as it was stated by Malachi Z. It's true. I'd also like to say that, to my knowledge, many of the people that brought this case against Malachi Z. have stayed in contact with each other. I've been aware of it.
They involved, primarily what was the distinction is that it involved the federal RICO conspiracy count. Now, the first 3 counts of the indictment involved conspiracy or RICO charges. Now, RICO charges generally were created for the government to attack the mafia.
Right, right. In fact, that's I was just about to ask you that.
Right.
Most people think that this is just a racketeering charge.
Right, right. Well, this case involved substantially different facts than what historically would be found in a mafia-type organization. The reason that the historical reason why the RICO charges were created, because it made the prosecution easier to convict a mafia boss or mafia don or whatever.
Right.
Now, what has happened in several cases, the RICO laws have been misapplied. For example, in the recent case in the federal courts of Atlanta involving the pimps in the child prostitution, right? The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals is taking a very close look at that because they feel that the RICO charges in that case they were misapplied. And similarly in this case, that would be one of the issues that we'll cover on appeal. Nevertheless, outside of the RICO charges, there were several counts, 4 counts of transporting children in interstate commerce for purposes of having sex.
No. Your name is Hanan Merritt. I'm like, yes. And she said, I heard all about you. She was telling me she heard all about me. She was like, finally, she said, I know your name and everything. She said, all I was waiting for was a picture to match the name with. I'd never been molested. I'd never been molested. I'd never been molested.
And also there were 3 money structuring charges. And the money structuring basically means that what the allegation was is that there will if you deposit over $10,000 in cash in a financial institution, that financial institution has to report that to the IRS. And the allegation was that Dr. York intentionally did not deposit $10,000 into a financial institution.
Hello, my name is Habiba Washington, and today I'm here to put on record the truth behind all of the lies brought up in the case against Malachi York. The money situation. Yes, I was in charge of the finances, and a lot of the financial decisions that were made were by me at the time that I was in charge. When I wasn't in charge, when it was Kathy that was in charge, the financial decisions were made by her. Malachi did not make financial decisions. We collected the money, we separated the money. When I was in charge of where the money went, how the money was handled, how it was separated. He never sat us down and told us to avoid the FBI or avoid the IRS or avoid doing anything illegal with his money. As a matter of fact, he was very, very serious about handling his finances.
Now, the jury found Dr. York not guilty of one of the counts of transporting children in interstate commerce, and that was as far as going from Georgia to Florida or Disney World. In the other counts, they found Dr. York guilty on those counts.
Let me ask you, you said that the jury did not find him guilty on one of the charges going from Georgia to Florida.
Right.
Explain that.
All right. Now, outside of the travel from New York to Georgia, the federal government also alleged that there was trips from Georgia to Disney World in Florida, and that was also for the purposes of having sex with children.
Okay.
Right. And the jury found him not guilty.
April 21st, 2004. My name is Farah Muhammad. My sister, her name is Kamra Muhammad. She was the witness for the prosecution. And I know that she was never molested by Mr. York. Me and my sister were very close. We were like best friends. We talked about everything. She never once told me that she was molested by Mr. York. Nothing of that nature. We talked about everything. We told each other everything.
And the jury found him not guilty on that allegation.
Okay.
Which to me would indicate an inconsistent verdict, because the same witnesses that testified that there was sex from New York to Georgia are the same witnesses that testified that there was sex from Georgia to Disney World.
Okay.
Right.
I can't really speak for why other people did it. I know that a lot of them had their own personal anger issues with Malachi. I want to state that nobody that left the community left because...
That's the sum total of the charges. We have a very strong appeal in this case, and I could talk to you briefly, if you like, about the post-trial proceedings.
Okay. Before you go into that, I want to switch over to Dr. Al Woodall. You are the agent for the property owner?
Yes,
and,
down at 44 Shadydale Road.
Explain that to our audience, what the property owner and your position.
My involvement? Okay, well, the property known as 404 Shadydale Road is actually the land of the Yamassee Native American Moors of the Creek Nation. It encompasses about approximately 476 acres that's located in Putnam County, Georgia. And ironically enough, that's where a large majority of these alleged charges were said to have taken place.
Okay.
And there's been a misconception, which has been one of our problems, which will also be addressed in regards to the appeal, that the warrant that they came for the search and seizure on that property was supposed to have the name of the property owners on that land, on that warrant, that search warrant, but that was not on there.